Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. Now, we are proud to be the most watched Tottenham fan channel on YouTube and, of course, proud to be part of the TalkSport fan network. In this edition, we will be discussing a lot of things Tottenham Hotspur. We will be looking back at the 4-1 win on Saturday against our rivals West Ham United. We will be discussing various Spurs players and, of course, boss Ange Postecoglou. We'll be looking ahead to a very busy schedule. Games are coming thick and fast. We'll be previewing the Tottenham v AZ game on Thursday in the Europa League. We will also hear from two AZ experts. And, of course, I will get the panel to give their predicted lineups and their score predictions. Now, back with me, three returning guests. We have got sports journalist Josh Hughes back with us. Josh, it seems like ages since you were here. How are you?
I know, it has. I think I was on every other week during the transfer window. Yeah, doing well and great to be back on the channel.
Well, Josh, great to have you here. We've also got YouTuber Jonny Hamme back with us. Jonny, how are you?
I'm great. Good to be back and buzzing for the nice run of exciting fixtures coming up now.
Yes, they certainly are.
Too. Yeah.
They certainly are coming thick and fast. So will these podcasts as well, by the way. We've also got Gareth McGuiness back with us. Of course, UEFA licensed football coach. Gareth, how are you?
All good, Chris, but I'm rushed getting back for the podcast. But, I wouldn't miss it. I was just back finishing training there, quite sure, and I just jumped on here for it. So, looking forward to it. Good one at the weekend. It was important to start back with one after the break. So, couldn't be happier at the minute. As it says on previous podcasts, I'm sure we'll talk about. We should have more points, but the performances are what really stand out.
Josh, I'm going to start this evening's show with you. I just want you to give me your thoughts on the season so far, and in particular, your thoughts on the 4-1 win against West Ham on Saturday. I know when we've had some good results, some bad results in this opening run of the brand new season, you've been messaging me saying, get me on the podcast, because you love talking about Spurs, you love talking about a win. And I tell you what, that was a good win on Saturday.
Yeah, perhaps I should miss more Spurs games. It was the only game I haven't been to this season, of course, at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And of course, Spurs play like that. I mean, it was brilliant. I watched the extended highlights back and we were just brilliant. I mean, okay, there were times where, again, defensively, it's individual errors, but we'll move quickly on from that because, it did seem to just come together. And it's once again another game where we could have scored 7, 8, 9. And the scoreline actually sort of flatters West Ham a little bit, the way that we played. And, of course, there was a bit of needle in the game, which was great to see as well. It was good to see so many empty seats in the away end. But this is the thing that Spurs do, right? And, we know one game will do what we did at Brighton and another will do what we did against West Ham. And, I think that's kind of a good reflection of where we are as a team at the moment. I think we're still moving in the right direction. But, there are still big questions to be asked in terms of getting to where we want to be. And, I think that is what separates us at the minute from those teams above that we aspire to be, competing with. It's that level of consistency. It's, holding on to leads. It's not having so many individual errors. And, I'm sure that, as the season goes on, we will kind of really get into our groove. If you take the Brighton result out of it, our form is actually very good at the moment. And, on the ball and in terms of creating chances and scoring, we're doing a lot of that. I mean, our goal difference, if I'm right in thinking, is +9. Is it the second best in the league at the minute? And we are among the top scorers, if not the top scorers in the Premier League this season now, which is excellent. So, look, I think where we are is we're in touching distance. And, I was talking to Jonny actually over the weekend and I said, we were literally discussing this point that if it wasn't for a couple of individual errors, we would be right up there, right at the very top. So I don't think it's been as bad as, the Brighton result probably made a lot of us feel like it was. But yeah, still work to be done to get that level of consistency. And I think we're definitely a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure.
Josh, I completely agree. When you look at the Premier League table, Spurs at the moment sat in 7th, 13 points from 8 games, 4 points away from the top 4, and 8 points away from league leaders at the moment, Liverpool with 21 points. Are you happy with what you've seen so far this season? Of course, we can go back to that Brighton second half, and of course, there was so much disappointment, particularly when we were on that great winning run and that fantastic opening 45 minutes. We should have, got the 3 points there without any question or doubt. And Newcastle away, exactly the same. We have played well in a lot of games, but we haven't picked up points. But overall, are you happy?
Yeah, I would say yes. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's that same thing with Spurs of, at the end of the season, are we going to look back at those games at the start of the season? And that's the difference between us getting Champions League football and not. It is individual errors, it's blips, and it's things that, all teams do. But, we've seen quite a lot of at the start of this season. I mean, this is, when you look at that table, it's kind of exactly what you would picture if you're thinking about Ange Ball and the risk versus reward. It's +9 goal difference on 13 points after 8 games. It's all a bit bonkers, really. So, where I'm at is, yes, I think we're moving in the right direction, but, and also I would say probably our worst performance of the season as a whole game. I'm not talking about just a half, because we all know that was Brighton second half, but our worst performance of the season as a full 90 was actually probably Arsenal, which is the one team that you wouldn't expect to maybe get a result against, given where they are at the minute. So, actually, for the most part, we've played very, very good stuff. And I think that actually on the ball, that's been the biggest improvement that I've seen so far. We can still work on stuff off the ball, but, going forward and attacking, we're certainly not seeing Spurs struggle to break down teams like we were all getting frustrated at last season. We found a way. I think we're moving in the right direction.
Jonny, I'm just thinking, actually, the last time I saw you was actually at half-time at the Amex Stadium. We had smiles on our faces. We were all happy. Everyone thought another 3 points before the international break. And of course, it all went pear-shaped in that second half. What have you made of the season so far? And what do you make of Saturday's performance against West Ham?
Well, quite funny you say that, because actually I turned around to my son at half time and I said, my only concern is the Man United game, a 10-minute spell against 10 men, where they started to get the upper hand and Ange hadn't made a substitution to change it up, because I don't think you can press like that for 90 minutes and, not use the subs. So I was a bit worried about that, and we all know what happened. So it was refreshing. I mean, I felt a bit traumatized driving back after that game, but watching that game, the first 30 minutes, there was a bit of trepidation, I would say, in the stadium, which was kind of weird. We're 1 down. Yeah, in that first half, we had 12 corners. 12 corners. This is incredible. I think it's the most by any team in the Premier League this season. Yet we never looked like scoring from one of them. So I feel like we progressed because, we all know the dramas we had from set pieces and corners last season. Yet this season, we've only conceded 1 goal from a set piece corner, which was against Arsenal. Yet I feel like we're not really utilising our chances when we're getting set pieces of our own from corners. But listen, it was a really, really good performance, and we really needed it. I felt like the players really reacted to the fans in that second half when that second goal went in. The tempo and the atmosphere really ratcheted up, and I felt they reacted very well to that. And the other thing I've noticed is, looking at stats, our last season, we had 3 fast break goals in the whole of the season. This season, we've had 7 in the first 8 games. That's a fast break. That's winning the ball and coming back and scoring from that break. 7. Our record, the most we've ever had in a season, was 9 under Pochettino, I think, in 2019. So there are tweaks that we might not notice at first sight, but are we turning into a little bit of a counter-attacking team as well? Because we certainly are progressing the ball far more efficiently than we were before. I definitely see that tweak. I think we are progressing, but as Josh said, one swallow doesn't make a summer. We need to string a whole set of results together now. We need to go on a positive run because confidence breeds confidence. And, once the belief kicks in, I think we could do something special. But I really would like to see some rotation, better use of the substitutions. I'm not going to mention who should be on and who shouldn't be on, but I definitely think that when you consider what could have been and what wasn't, and the games that we've missed, the Newcastle, Arsenal, as Josh said, which was, I feel, our worst performance over 90 minutes. I feel that this is a nice base from which to go forward from this point and to, start to make inroads in that top four. Because I think it's possible. I really do believe it's possible. And I for one, am very, very excited about the youth that we've got in this team. I know a lot of people think, this is all jammed tomorrow. But, the little cameo from Archie Gray when he came on, when he left Jared Bowen for dead, just showed the skill set he has. We all know about Mikey Moore, and I know, Chris, you go to the under-18 and under-21 games. There is some good youth coming through. We're buying lots of good young players, and I think the future is bright. Might not be tomorrow, but I think we're on a good base for us to go forward now.
Jonny, let me come back to you about talking about subs, because, of course, Ange Postecoglou made a sub at half-time. A big call. James Maddison coming off. I don't know about you, but everyone around me thought that there must have been a knock to James Maddison for him to come off at half-time. Pape Matar, of course, came on. What have you made of the criticism about Ange? Because you also mentioned about him not making subs quicker in that Brighton second half. That was a big call at half-time for him to bring Maddison off.
I was so conflicted in that first half, and I'll tell you why. Because James Maddison, although he was creating so many chances, and he obviously set up Kulu, I also felt he was culpable of not being strong enough in the middle of the park, and they were just cutting through him. And when you looked at Kulu and Maddison side by side, I felt that Kulu stood out as being the stronger in his overall game. And let's be honest, there's more facets to the game that's creating. You have to track back. You have to be strong in the tackle. And, I thought he had to come off. And I'll be honest with you, I thought he was injured at halftime. I didn't know it was a tactical sub. I was very grateful for Papa coming on. I think Papa Sarr, again, has been another player who's had a bit of a hard time. He didn't start too great, but, he's got 2 goals in the Europa League. And he was man of the match for Senegal the other day. And I think, he's a really good player. And again, we're blessed with a lot of options in the middle of the park. And I love this. I mean, look at how long was it? It was only maybe a season ago where we were struggling to have competition for places. I think it's healthy to have competition. My only criticism, I did not like the way James Maddison sat on that bench and did not celebrate when those goals were going in. You're a leader. No matter what, you're not bigger than the team. You should be there and you should be celebrating. When other players have come off, they're up there celebrating. It's a team game and you're a leader.
Yeah.
Be humble.
Gareth, let's come to you. How are you feeling right now as a Tottenham fan and the season so far and that West Ham win on Saturday?
Other than a few results, Chris, I've been pretty happy. I can't really criticise the overall performances in the majority of the games. I think it's been individual errors, lapses in concentration that's really let us down. I think what Jonny says there was spot on about the fast breaks. I think we're one of the best, if not the best, in the league at the moment in transition. I think how quickly we can break on teams when we get that ball back. I think Josh did it as well about being on the ball. I think we're moving the ball a lot quicker than we were last year. Even when we had that great start to the season, other than the Burnley game, we were grinding out. Well, not grinding out, but, they were tight games. And you think about, the draw, Brentford, beat United by a goal, 2-0, one was an own goal. The Burnley game stands out, was the day you kind of thought we were going, but we didn't have too many teams for big numbers. We've won 3 games this season already by 3 goals. So we're creating a lot more chances. I think we're putting teams to the sword as well when we do. Brighton was the only one. We really should have put Brighton to the sword. It should have been an hour 3 or 4-0. And look, that can happen. It's a young team. It'll learn. I don't think it'll happen too many times on the range, even though we made mistakes. He could replay that game 10 times over. We would go on to win that game. A bit of a freak result. 3 goals in 18 minutes. I do agree we possibly could have made changes earlier, but it was 2-2 after about 7 minutes. So realistically, he probably thought, let's settle down at 2-1 in that game and maybe we'll get back on it. But the goals happened that quickly. Then he waited too long to make the change. He really should have made it a 2-2. But look, managers make mistakes and managers learn. And maybe that was a big learning curve for him, that when games swing in the Premier League, you have to react. And he did that on Saturday. It was a big call, taking Maddison off. I think that's really important, that he's not afraid to make a big change. Maddison's a big part of the squad. He's a leader. And the fact that he was able to pull him off, I think shows you how strong he is as a manager as well, that he's prepared to take a risk like that, because, as Jonny says, Maddison wasn't happy. But the team won and they played better in the second half, and it's probably a big call to make now leading on to this week. Does he stick with that midfield? Does he change it? But I think, Chris, we've been outstanding in most of the games we've played, and we've been very unfortunate that we haven't got more points. I mean, I looked at the stats today. I think we're 17.4 for XG created, so we scored 18 goals, so near enough bang on. We've scored what we should have. We've actually conceded 2 more goals than our XGs expected. We've actually conceded 9 instead of 7. And look, they put in the perspective. Liverpool are having a great season, but Liverpool have conceded 8.5 XG and only conceded 3 goals. So when they've needed a wee bit of fortune, they've got it. Whereas I kind of think with Spurs, we've been punished at every opportunity. Every time we've made a mistake, it's been punished. And that Brighton game was one of those days. So look, we keep going the way we're going. Chris, we're going to eat into them leaders at the top, because I'm looking at it. Yes, Liverpool are getting results, but they aren't blowing teams away. It's very conservative and it's getting results now, but you're not looking at them and thinking they're the team to beat. Arsenal are going through a bit of a sticky spell. Man City look vulnerable without Rodri. I don't think at the moment there's an outstanding team in the league. It's very early days, but in my opinion, we've played the best football, definitely the best attacking football. And if we keep doing that, we're going to win a lot of games. And I mean, we're the only team in the league this year who won a game by 3 goals 3 times. So, who would want to play that Spurs team? Because unless they make mistakes at the back and don't take their chances, you're going to get beat. Other than the Arsenal game, that's probably the only game we didn't create chances. And Arsenal were really, really good that day at the back. And they are very strong at the back. So, I mean, I'm looking at Crystal Palace. I would not want to be Crystal Palace on Sunday. Yes, it's a London derby, but Palace are struggling. Spurs are free-flowing. I mean, I'm going into every game confident, and I haven't felt like that for a long time. Despite we know what we're capable of making mistakes, but we create that much, Chris. We're a really, really tough team to handle.
I've got to admit, when we went 1-0 down, I wasn't really worried. I thought that we're going to create so many chances and come back into the game and go on to win it. Now, all of us have said that we're enjoying the style of football and we're enjoying life at the moment under Ange Postecoglou, although we're not getting carried away. Gareth, let's come back to you. On that point, everyone's enjoying it. Everyone's enjoying the style of football and us scoring goals, being a free-flowing team. Are you surprised by the amount of criticism that Ange Postecoglou has received so far this season?
Yes and no, because we know what social media is like. I mean, I've seen Arsenal fans hammering Arteta at the weekend, and look what Arteta's done for Arsenal. Yes, they haven't got over the line yet, but from where they were to where they are now, it almost feels like if they drop a point, their fans are criticising the manager. Maybe he got it wrong tactically at the weekend, but managers make mistakes. Ange has made mistakes, but from where we were under Conte and Mourinho and sitting back and waiting for opportunities, they taking the game to teams. I mean, we saw him was missing for a few weeks. Yes, he makes a big difference when he comes back, but we were able to navigate through that period without him. I can't think of too many times in the past where if Kane and Son wasn't playing, we were from, how are we going to score a goal? Because it was relying on individual brilliance and counterattacks, whereas there's a style the Spurs play. Maddison comes off, Spurs still create so many chances. We're not reliant on one player. We're finally become a team of a collective, and whoever comes on can play the way we want to play. So I'm surprised that that they've turned so quickly, because your eyes don't lie to you. The performances have been very, very good. If we were struggling in those games, I could understand it. But suppose everybody just looks at a result. You wouldn't find an unhappy Liverpool fan at the moment because they're top of the league. But I'm watching them, and their style of football is not great. It's very dogged, and it's sneaking 1-0s, 2-1s. Hey, look, fair play to them, top of the league. But that's not really sustainable for a full 38-game season. So, if they were to go and lose the next 2 games, all of a sudden people will be questioning him. So everyone kind of judges, because of social media now, everyone judges on a game-by-game basis. But as Josh says there, Spurs have won 6 of their last 7 games. So they're in a great run of form. Take out that 45-minute spell against Brighton, we're sitting here with 7-1s. And if you've mentioned the Newcastle game, we should have won that. The Leicester game, we should have won that. The only reason we haven't won them games is down to individual errors. Nothing to do with the manager, in my opinion. The Brighton game, Bentancur's trying to get a ball running to play. That's nothing to do with the manager. That's just an individual error in a game. The set piece problem that everyone's speaking about, it's not perfect, but we've only conceded 1 goal from a set piece this season. So it's not that bad. But what'll happen is the next time we concede a goal from a set piece, Spurs are terrible from set pieces, because that's the narrative in the media. If Spurs get caught on the counter-attack, it's Ange's fault. Every team gets caught on the counter-attack, every week. It's just part of football. So people just think of a narrative, and then once that narrative's out there, they stick to it. But, and then once we beat West Ham 4-1, West Ham's a poor team. So you can't win sometimes, Chris. But I'm a coach, and I'm seeing a team that are going in the right direction. And anyone that tells you they're not is lying, because they concede a few goals here and there. But I try to be as impartial as possible. I don't enjoy watching any other team as much as I enjoy watching Spurs. And I have to say, when Liverpool were under Klopp, was it perfect at times? It wasn't. But he went and got a Alisson, he went and got a Van Dijk, and it got a lot better. But I love watching that style of play, where you're not waiting for the opposition. You're going to take the game to a team, and if you don't win, you learn. And this Spurs team are learning. Yes, it's going to take more time. I said to you in the summer, Chris, I think we're a season away from where Ange wants to be. But if we keep, Chris, I just don't go into any game now feeling that we're second best. Yes, we'll lose games. Yes, we'll drop points. But I'm looking at the Man City game in a couple of weeks' time. They're not going to want to play against Spurs, because they're light in midfield without Rodri. They're still a wonderful team. But Spurs will give them a lot of problems. And if you think back to the Spurs-Man City game last season, at the end of the season, when a lot of people were divided who they wanted to win the game, Spurs absolutely dominated Man City in the first 45 minutes of that game. I think Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher says they didn't see anyone do that to Man City. I mean, Arsenal went to Man City and sat back, completely conceded possession last year for a 0-0 draw. Spurs went and they were brave, and they had so many chances in that game. They scored goals. So that is the only way we're going to get better. So I'm all for it. If there's a few bumps in the road, then so be it. But we're definitely going in the right direction. Not everybody has to agree with me, but from where I was as a Spurs fan, I just can't wait for the next game. I'm thinking AZ Alkmaar on Thursday night. They're on for a tough game, because how are you going to cope with this Spurs system? And, West Ham really struggled in that second half. They were tore apart at times, and Brighton in the first half, they just couldn't cope. And if Spurs could be a bit more, a bit more ruthless in front of goal, Chris, these games will be over at halftime. So I'd be very, very positive as a fan at the moment. And it doesn't matter who we're playing at the moment. I'm thinking we can get a result.
I'm just for those listening on audio, I've just put up a picture on screen, and this is the own goal. Of course, Areola scored the own goal for us at the weekend, and Heung-min Son, who takes the shot here, you can see 3 Spurs players in the 6-yard box. Actually, more Spurs players than West Ham. Ready to either get the cross or hitting the rebound. And also, this is Heung-min Son's goal. Brennan Johnson very near the 6-yard box. And I think this is hell of a difference to what we saw at Newcastle, when the likes of Brennan Johnson was actually putting in crosses and no one was there. And that's something I've noticed hugely different. Josh, in your opinion, what you've seen of Spurs so far this season and what you've seen of other teams so far this season, where do you think Spurs will finish at the end of this year? What are Spurs good enough to do this season, second season under Postecoglou?
Well, I knew you were going to ask me this. Actually, I knew when you I knew you were winding up for this one. Look, I think it's a race between Chelsea, Villa, and Spurs for that fourth spot. I actually think Chelsea have been one of the most impressive teams in the league this season. I was not expecting them to be as good as they have been. I mean, they've got a lot of quality. And actually, I thought they'd really struggle, but no, they've built on the back end of the season under Poch, and Maresca seems to be a very, very good coach, especially Nicholas Jackson looking really good as well, which I was quite surprised by. Villa, I don't think they're playing well, but they seem to just keep grinding out results. Look, this next 3 games is really important. Palace will not be easy because Palace have played so badly, and I think there probably is still a mindset. Sorry, when I say 3 games, I don't mean AZ and City. I'm talking Premier League games, but let's go into Palace, with a comfortable win against AZ Alkmaar. I think get that one out the way. City is neither here nor there, right? It's a cup game. We might both field second string teams. Who knows what will happen? But those league games, that Palace game in particular, there's probably still a mindset I feel like teams will have against Spurs. I mean, it happens when I talk to anyone that isn't a Spurs fan about Spurs, where they still think, well, it's Spurs. And as bad as Palace have been at Selhurst, they're probably thinking it's Spurs. We can get a result. So it's down to us to really go and keep doing what we've done, build on the momentum from the West Ham game. We can ignore Brighton as a blip. We're in great form. Go and win that game comfortably, and then we've got, I believe, Aston Villa after that, and that is a real test. I was thinking actually after the West Ham game at our season so far, and in some regards, take the result out of it for Newcastle. The performance in Newcastle was an improvement on last season. We didn't go and lose 4-1. We should have won the game. West Ham, we lost that game 2-1 at home, and we've gone and beat them 4-1. Villa, I'm looking at that as a game that we lost when we shouldn't have. I think actually some of the best football we played last season was in that first half when Rodrigo Bentancur came back into the side before Matty Cash, did a Matty Cash, and he was out for a few more months. That's a game that if we can go and win that game, we're really sending out a statement. And then I think, is it Ipswich after that, if I remember correctly?
Ipswich, and then the international break against Man City away.
So those 3 games should be 9 points, really. If we can come out of that with 9 points, then I think we really are firmly in that race for the top 4. And I really do think that we have a great chance, not just of being in the race, but actually getting into the top 4. We cannot afford to have any more blips in that period. Let's hope that we've got that out of us now. I do think we'll finish 4th this season. I said we'd finish 5th last season. I think we'll finish 4th this season. But it really is up in the air. It's actually quite exciting in many ways. I actually think that the race for 4th is slightly more exciting than the race for the title this season. Probably because of the way that those teams are playing. And actually, I just want to come back to a point that I think Gareth made about Liverpool. And there's actually, maybe I've perceived this wrong and people may disagree with me, but I'm seeing actually quite a lot of similarities between Liverpool's start and Tottenham's start last season to Liverpool's start this season. I mean, they've already shown they can have a blip like they did against Nottingham Forest. If Liverpool go and beat Arsenal or get a result of the Emirates, then I think Liverpool may actually be favourites. If Arsenal go and win that game, maybe, we were getting carried away with Liverpool, but they've been impressive in terms of their ability to just keep getting results. City certainly don't look as strong as they did last season, but again, we don't want to speak too soon because it's City and they always seem to go unbeaten from about January onwards. And then Arsenal, I mean, that was just, they were terrible. Even before the red card to Saliba, they were terrible at Bournemouth. So, yeah, it's all to play for at the minute. But I think, 4th should be our aim. And I think we've got a great chance. But we really, really do need to win the next 3 games.
Josh, just very quickly, I know you spoke out about the league position there and league fixtures, but of course we do face AZ on Thursday, which we'll talk about in a second. Crystal Palace away in the Premier League on Sunday, and then a huge game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, League Cup against Manchester City on Wednesday the 30th. Now, that City game, I know me and you have spoken at length about trophies, about not winning trophies, about strength in depth, about team selection before. How strong do you think Ange Postecoglou is going to go in that League Cup game against City, bearing in mind that Pep Guardiola has come out and said we are not going to waste any energy on this competition?
Well, Pep can say what he likes, and City can play a third string side, and it's still capable of finishing top four. So,
no, but isn't my point is, isn't this a fantastic opportunity to knock out the Premier League champions?
It is. And I look at the fixtures as well, and Newcastle host Chelsea. Chelsea's another team we hate playing in cup competitions. Imagine Newcastle can go and beat Chelsea at St James's, and we can beat City. Suddenly, we've got a really great opportunity. Again, we've not had the luck of the draw here. We didn't have the luck of the draw in the FA Cup as well last season, and we've now got City. But to be honest, if not playing City now, you've got to play City at some point. So it's good that it's at home. I'm glad it's not away. I'd like to see us go pretty strong. Maybe I wouldn't go full strength because I don't anticipate they will, but I would go near full strength. I think maybe it would be a good opportunity for a player like Richarlison to start. I'd like to see him start against AZ Alkmaar and get more minutes in his legs, and maybe that's a good opportunity with his physicality. But equally, I don't. It's not a game I'd like to see us, playing, all the kids in. Certainly not Fraser Forster or Timo Werner. But I'd like to see us go strong. But maybe it's an opportunity for players like Bentancur to play and Sarr to start, and maybe Richarlison. But we got a great chance. Cup games you literally cannot call unless you're playing, even then, Spurs against teams like Morecambe or Mura. Who cares? We can still make it difficult. But look, I think we got a great chance, and I couldn't call that game. But yeah, let's hope we give it a good go. And then we're one step closer. I mean, it's how many games is it? If we beat City, that's what, 2-3 games away from the final. So it's not many.
It'll be last 8. We'll be in the last 8.
There you go. So great opportunity. I would love to see us win a trophy. I think the one that I really, really want us to win more than anything is the Europa League this season. Because I look at the teams in that competition, and for me, we are the best team in that competition. Our biggest rivals are Man United, and I think we're head and shoulders above them at the minute. So look, at the end of the day, I don't think any of us on this panel or anyone watching gives a damn what competition it is, as long as we can win something and end that trophy drought. I mean, Ange has said multiple times, I always win in my second season. So let's hope that stays true and we do win something, because my God, it's been far, far too long.
Josh, quick yes or no. Are we winning something this season?
No comment. Yes, why not? Why not? I don't want to jinx it, but why not? I don't see why we can't.
Johnny, are we winning something this season?
Oh, we got to, because Ange said it, right? I mean, he clearly said he reiterated his point. No, I always win something. I mean, I would say that's probably my biggest criticism of Ange is, why set yourself up? Why give the press the ammunition to shoot you down? Sometimes don't give them that ammunition. Don't say I'm not interested in set pieces and corners. And, I didn't want to make a substitution because I wanted a punishment. We didn't deserve to win. This is all stuff that aggravates the fan base and gives the press the fuel. But I think we have to put out a full strength team against Man City.
I agree.
We're in the winning business. We need to win this game. We're at home. They've got no Rodri. Yes, they'll put out a good team, whatever Pep says. But we need to win this game. And, you know, we're down to the last 8. We've got every chance of winning. And that's all we want. I do not want another situation where, you know, a Fulham, where we see the tree in goal, still falling up for those penalties. I don't want to see that again. So hopefully we'll have a backup goalkeeper in January, but it'll have to be Vicario in goal and a full-strength team. It's important that we win this for the fan base, and I think for Levy himself, because as much as people think that he doesn't care about winning a trophy, I think deep down he would like to get that off of his back and actually, you know, be at the club at some point where we actually win something. And the fans deserve it. We've been trolled for so long. You know, even when we win one, okay, we're going to say, there's only one in the cupboard, you know, but I don't care. We just need that.
You know it, Jonny. It would be, it's only a League Cup, or it's only a Europa League, or it's only one. Yeah, we get all of that, but we'll take it.
We don't care. We don't care. Listen, we don't care. You know, I think, you know, the league this season is up and down. I actually was a massive fan of Arne Slot. I wanted Slot to come to Spurs when Conte left. He was my first choice. And I actually like the balance of football he plays between Klopp's manic press and a bit of pragmatism. I think he's got the balance just right. Yes, Gareth is right. You know, they have scrapped a couple of games. But listen, let's be honest. Forest, they're giving everyone a good game. They play really well at the moment. They got a good defence, and no clue Nuno has suddenly turned into a genius again. So, you know, I think it's very open now, and I think lots of teams will beat each other. It was a pleasurable weekend to watch Arsenal lose and us win, and I think now it's how does he rotate this team? Because I don't want to see us play the same players week in, week out. I think, you know, we were a bit guilty about last year, and we're going to have plenty of options now, opportunities to switch it up. I'd like to see on Thursday maybe a Bergvall come in and, as Josh says, maybe a Richarlison start up front, but not in that Carling Cup. Definitely not.
Just before we talk about the AZ game on Thursday, Jonny, let's stay with you for a second. How impressed were you with Heung-min Son on Saturday? Of course, it is great to have our captain back, and he was on fire on Saturday afternoon. Yeah,
I mean, listen, I've been advocating for him to be rested, and people say, you can't rest Son. I think he's been overworked. All these trips flying, you know, to Asia, coming back. If anyone's flown long haul, I know you've done it. I've done it many times. And it's draining. And I felt that he looked fresh. He looked fresh to me. He didn't look that tired, Sonny. Yes, his legs aren't as good as they are, quick as he used to be. But that fourth goal, when he bamboozled Tobido with those step overs late in the game, you know, I think it was about 60th minute. Was a fantastic finish. And then he had the one that hit the post. You know, when you look at his numbers, the amount of games he's played and his goal contributions, you can't argue with them. You know, will he end up getting 20 goals again this season? It's entirely possible if he stays fit, but I would like to see him not played every game, and that's my worry. You know, does he really need to play against AZ? I don't think he does.
Not at all.
I really don't. I would rather save him for the weekend. For Palace. Hopefully that will be the case, but I fear that Ange will play him.
We'll come on to team selection and your predicted lineup shortly. Gareth, let's come to you. Let's start talking about the AZ game on Thursday evening at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Of course, Spurs have won 2 out of 2 in the Europa League so far. We are third in the group, 6 points. How are you feeling ahead of this game against AZ, and what do you know about them, Gareth?
I know they're struggling at the moment. They've lost their last 4 games, I believe, in all competitions, and they've struggled in this competition as well. I know Troy Parrott had a great start to the season for them. As you can see there, they've lost. I read some of they lost their last four in all competitions today. So maybe there's a cup game in there somewhere. Maybe, I'm not sure. But
that's four, yeah.
They've lost their last two in the league, and they've lost they Balboy last time out. Look, I think Spurs are huge favourites. Troy Parrott had a great start to the season for them. I think he scored 4 maybe in that game. They won 9-1 there in September. But look, Troy wouldn't be anywhere near this Spurs team. So I think it's a game that we should be really looking to win quite comfortably. And get on to 9 points. And really, Chris, I think we need to get this wrapped up as soon as possible. Get to a stage where we're guaranteed qualification, and then maybe start rotating the team a wee bit more. I do know after this AZ Alkmaar game that games do get slightly more difficult because you've got Galatasaray away. Yeah. Rangers are struggling, but that'll still be a tough game away to Rangers. They'll be right up flat. Roma at home. That'll be probably our hardest home game. So the games will get slightly tougher. So you want to try and maximise your outcomes in these games and get only 9 points. And look, I don't foresee too many teams winning their first 3 games. So we could be top, if not top, near the very, very top on Thursday night. We won. I think the fixtures have fallen quite good for us. So I'm expecting us to breeze through them, really. I think keep 11 men on the pitch, and we'll probably post at least 3, maybe more, because they do seem to be leaking goals. AZ Alkmaar as well. It'll be interesting to see how they approach the game. But I can see it being comfortable. I mean, Liverpool sort of sailed through these group stages, didn't they? And it was a different format. It was a group stage, but they were home and hose very early on. You kind of want to be sitting there come end of November, start of December, really just qualified, and then you're just trying to maybe finish as high as possible, because we did speak about before, Chris, the tennis seed bracket after the league phase, that you're as well trying to finish as high up. If you finish first, you can't play the team that finishes second to the final. So it should, on paper, give you an easier route to the final. So I'm expecting a really comfortable night and get players off. I would go strong, get the job done. Obviously, rotate a wee bit, 3 or 4 changes, no more, and won the game quite comfortably. And then you can make more changes after 60 minutes. Because I did say I do expect us to beat Palace. We have a decent record of Palace. I think people make Palace away out to be worse than what it is. We've actually had a decent record of Palace over the last number of years. Yes, they tend to be tight games. I know there was a 4-0 in there, I think, a couple of years ago, but we can definitely go there and hit them for a few goals. And I think Josh is right. This next run of games is going to be crucial, because they're games we should win on paper, and we haven't won those games in the early part of the season that we should have won. So Villa will be a big game because they finished above us last year, but I'm looking at Villa and thinking we should be beating them based on how we're playing. I fancy us at home to Ipswich as well. And then obviously there's a cup game on there. I agree with the boys. I would go really, really strong in the cup. But look,
Gareth, you're going games ahead. We've got Thursday's game to talk about first.
Ange, can I just say that Ange has already played AZ, and he lost. He lost the first game out in Alkmaar, and he won the second game. I think it's 2-1, an own goal late in the game.
Jonny, I'm going to tell you now, there are going to be no issues on Thursday night. This will be a comfortable one for Ange.
No, I'm just saying, Ange does not have the best record in Europe coming into the club. He had a poor record against Celtic, so I was worried. But he's done all that can be asked of him in the first game, in the first 2 games. But Troy Parrott, scored 4 goals in the first game, hasn't been seen since. He hasn't done anything. And the only one that I know, there's only 2 players I know, is Van Bommel's son, who's a winger. He's a very tall wing. He's about 6'3". I think he scored a couple of goals. And then the old Geordie Classy, who used to play for Southampton. But Van
a couple
Bommel
more in there as well.
I'll be honest. He's right. I have no real motivation for this competition at the moment. I really just want to get these games out of the way, because I'm watching them, and yes, we didn't play that well in Enquiries, but the pitch was awful. The conditions were terrible. But even that Quarterback game, even with 10 men, for most up until the part of the second half, it was really comfortable before we retired with the 10 men. I just want to get these games out of the way and get the points. And Chris, I really do think there's an opportunity this year in the league. I'm looking at the teams so far, and I can only judge on what I've seen. And we should have more points. And if we can maximise our outcome in these next few games, I really think we could be in for a really strong season. And
Gareth,
Gareth,
I'm getting the buzz here that you actually think we're going to go on and win the title. I mean,
I don't think we'll win the title, but I certainly think.
Gareth, we are here to talk about the Europa League game. Keep going on about the Premier League.
We're going to win the game. Move on. Let's talk about something more someone else.
Gareth's won the game already.
There's an important point here, though.
Listen, they lost on the weekend, AZ Alkmaar, to PSV Eindhoven, but they had a player sent off after 10 minutes. So they played 80 minutes against PSV with 10 men, and they still only lost 2-1. So, what's interesting about their numbers is they seem to score a lot of goals. They're quite attacking, but they're not conceding tons of goals. I think they conceded 7 goals or something, but they scored about 19. So they're adventurous, but this is a big game for them. When you look on the calendar and you see Tottenham Hotspur, the fans will be excited about coming here. The players will be excited. It's a huge game for them. Probably the biggest game of the year.
They're brutal fans as well, from what I've seen.
Yeah, they are.
I remember when they played West Ham in the Conference League a couple of years ago, and there was all sorts of fights going on. Look, do you know what? I think I'm a little bit concerned, and this is not to necessarily disagree with what you're saying, Gareth, but I'm a little bit concerned in terms of the mindset of all
dismissing.
I want to get them out of the way, because it's exactly that I am worried about with Spurs. I don't want us to take any game lightly, especially in this competition. As far as I'm concerned, I want us to win every single group game, come top, not just qualify, come top.
Correct.
Make a real statement in this competition and say, look, we are the best team in this competition, because I truly believe we are, and go and win this. Because the thing is, frankly, I would take 8th in the league if it means we win the Europa League, get into the Champions League by that, and have a trophy. Right? That's what I care about. And I think this AZ game, as dodgy as Man United have been this season, I still think very few people would have expected what happened when they played FC Twente at home.
Correct.
And I don't want us to take any risks. I don't want us to be in a position where we coast the game at all. I think we will win comfortably. I don't disagree with that. But I think we do need to still give this competition, give every single game, whether it's, AZ Alkmaar or whether it's Elfsborg on the final game, the full attention, full care. And let's get too big for our boots, because let's forget.
I think Irons will make sure the players don't have that mindset, but maybe I have that mindset. But I'm just looking ahead. Possibly we know we Spurs never get too far ahead.
Let's before we go any further, I just want to hear from Neil de Hoop from AZ Alerts. Great news channel, by the way. So if you want to know anything more about AZ Alkmaar, do check out AZ Alerts. He has stated he is not positive about facing Tottenham.
I can't say that I'm very, very positive about facing Tottenham this week, but it certainly is a great match, a great club, a great stadium. I think if I have to say something about how the AZ fans are looking forward to the game, or how they are feeling towards the end result of the game, I think everyone is just sort of seeing it as a loss already, based on the fact that we're not doing that well. But yeah, football is a game that you cannot predict. It can always go the other way. So I would say a lot of fans are just hoping for a good result. But obviously Tottenham is an incredibly big club. I think the total transfer value and Transfermarkt is about 10 times higher than it is of AZ. I think even more than 10 times higher. So yeah, that says something about how you should feel as a sort of on European level small club as AZ. But yeah, everyone is excited to see their club play such a big club as Tottenham.
Josh, let's come back to you. How are you feeling ahead of this game? Are you feeling confident?
Absolutely, I'm feeling confident. It's an opportunity to make it 7 wins out of 8. Again, I think at home, I really fancy us. at home. I think we're a cracking side at home. I think actually it is our away form that's maybe letting us down a little bit so far. I know it's very early into the season. We can turn things around. But, at home, I think we're great. I love a European night under the lights at Spurs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're playing Barcelona, Real Madrid, or a team that we can't pronounce. I still love it, and I cannot wait. It's a shame, unfortunately, I can't make the game.
What ones can't you pronounce?
Well, most of them I'm okay with because I'm a nerd that way and I look them up. But look, AZ Alkmaar, their fans are going to be way up for it. We always know Dutch fans are super, super loud. So I think that will help as well, actually. I quite like the fact that even if it's a game where, I would expect us to win pretty comfortably, sort of in the 3-0, 4-0 kind of category. The fact that they've got super, super loud, passionate fans, hopefully that will get the crowd up. Weirdly, I think I wasn't at the West Ham game, but the atmosphere sounded really good, watching it back. But what I would say is actually that Qarabag game was one of the best atmospheres I've experienced at Spurs in months. So hopefully the same against AZ. We're all up for it, and we go and kill the game early, and then then we can start ringing some changes. As rightly pointed out, it's an opportunity to not just stay unbeaten, go 9 points out of a possible 9, but actually, if we can go and win this game comfortably, there's a very good chance that we will be top. I think if I remember correctly, Lazio are playing away at FC Twente. That won't be an easy game for them. And Lyon have Besiktas at home. And we all know that Besiktas can be pretty tricky customers. Nothing less than a win will do as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, for me, this is the competition I arguably care the most about. There's another little sort of stat. I think if you were to offer me 2 cups, right, and out of the 3 cups, you take FA Cup and you take Europa League, we're level with Chelsea in both the FA Cup and the Europa League. Both of us, I think we've both got 8 in the FA Cup and both on 2. Spurs would become the joint second most successful club in the Europa League since its invention. If we can win it this year, it would be our 3rd. Overall would be level with the likes of Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, Inter and Juventus. So great company to be in there. But yeah, as I say, and I repeat this again, we are the strongest team in this competition, in my opinion. Nothing less than winning this will do as far as I'm concerned. I really think we've got a great chance.
Jonny, before I get your thoughts ahead of this game, let's hear from Michael Statham from Dutch Football on Twitter. Or an X. He gives a great insight into the football club, their players, their manager, and of course, former Spurs Academy player, Troy Parrott.
A real mixed bag, actually. They began the season with a number of wins, a number of unconvincing 1-0s. There was a 9-1 win that made headlines because they beat Robin van Persie's head and vein. They were scoring goals for fun in that game. Troy Parrott, former Spurs player, scored 4 goals. And then now they've just lost 4 games in a row in all competitions. In the Europa League, they've won 1 and lost 1. So it's hard to tell where the season's going next, whether they're going to be able to pick it back up and go on another good run, or if actually this is the start of something now which shows some of their team's frailties. Tottenham is going to be another big challenge, like the Atletico game. They lost 2-0 away already in the Europa League. I think it's one of those where they'll try and stick it out for long periods of the game. They were okay for a long time against Atletico. It was 0-0. For much of the game, but then succumbed to a 2-0 defeat. I sense something similar might be coming here. AZ will need to set up really well, play in the counter-attack, and also hope that a few of their players are fit in time for this game, their key players. So the manager of AZ is Martin Martens. He was a former AZ player, Belgian player, and he's new in his career. So this is his first managerial job. He's not really set the Eredivisie alight with the football. It's not really different than what AZ are used to. They like having the ball on the ground. They like using the width for the wide players. They're used to, of course, like most Dutch teams, having young players come through the team. go for big transfers, that kind of thing. So now they're in that kind of intermediary period between bringing players through for the first time and selling them. They're actually trying to build a few up ready for that big move, but it's not going to come in January or anything. Not that they were clinging on to any players throughout this from the summer, other than Vangelis Pavlidis, who left for a big move to Benfica. Troy Parrott has been a replacement up top, and he's had the most touches in the penalty area of any player in the Eredivisie, but has only scored 5 goals so far, 4 in one game. So I think he's been a bit unlucky, but Parrott is someone who's developing with AZ, still learning, and he's flanked by 2 young players, Ibrahim Sadiq, a Ghanaian winger who's been a really good so far this season. Before now, he had quite a low output in front of goal. Sadiq is now changed player, so I'm looking forward to seeing if he makes it fit in time. He's in the right wing. And Ruben van Bommel, son of Mark van Bommel, on the left wing. He's another one to watch out for. In midfield, you've got Jordi Clasie, who is an old Premier League player. He used to play for Southampton. Really steady and great at the ball. And they've just got some young players in defence. The goalkeeper, he's a young Dutch international, Jaden Ouza-Aduro. He's been quite confident between the sticks so far this season. Very few mistakes. So I think there are players here that if you keep tabs on them this season and beyond, they will be going on to make big moves. I'm sure of it. But they're in that kind of time now where they're making mistakes. They're young and they're learning all together. That kind of sums up AZ in a nutshell, if you like.
Jonny, same question to you, I suppose. What do you know about AZ Alkmaar? How are you feeling ahead of this game?
Well, I mentioned Van Bommel, Mark Van Bommel's son. I mean, it's unusual for a winger to be 6'3" and pacey. To me, he will be the danger, probably. Jordi Clasie, I think he's about 33, 34 years of age. He's quite small, but he's a good passer of the ball. But I don't think, if we surround him with some physicality and our technical players, I think we should be okay. All Dutch teams are technically good. And Alkmaar, along with other Dutch teams, have got a habit of producing some really good young talent. They will see it as an opportunity to put themselves in the shop window and probably raise their game. He said the Ghanaian, I forgot his name, on the wing. He's another one. Parrott, yeah, he's had the touches, but he hasn't been scoring the goals. They beat Elfsborg, who will be our last opponent in the Europa League. I think they beat them 3-2. And so they're capable of scoring goals, and we aren't capable really of keeping that many clean sheets. So I expect us to win. But like Josh says, if you take them too lightly, be it at your peril, because we saw with Man United with FC20, Man United were meant to wipe the floor with them, and it ended up a draw. So I think if we take the game seriously and we put out a decent team, I think we should put this game to bed. I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory. I still think we're susceptible to the odd goal, bearing in mind that I would like to see, I know we're going to come on to that in a minute about our team selection, but I would like to see a couple of players rested at the back, namely Romero, for the amount of games that he's been playing recently without a break. So I'm going to go 3-1. I think it should be comfortable, but expect them to give us the odd problem and to be technically good on the ball. And as I said, look out for Van Bommel, Ruben Van Bommel on the wing there. Comes from good goals.
Gareth, let's come to you. I want to talk about your fellow countryman, Troy Parrott. Of course, he was in the Tottenham Hotspur development side. Gone on to now play for AZ. Of course, you've seen him play many times for your country, Ireland. What have you made of him? How good is he?
I think he's been unlucky with injuries. Every time he seems to get into a bit of form, even with the national team, he seems to get an injury and he falls out of favour. Of course, the big talk over here in Ireland is Evan Ferguson, but he's had injury problems as well. And Ireland's had a real lack of a goal scorer since Robbie Keane, obviously a Tottenham legend as well. They haven't really been able to replace some. Shane Long, Kevin Doyle done a job, but Evan Ferguson and Troy Parrott were seen as the two that could possibly pick up that mantle. But for injury problems, the two of them have never really had a sustained run for their national team. Parrott started the last game and did well. I do think there's more to Troy's game than just goals. I do think he likes to drop off, link the play. The fact he's had a lot of touches and linking on play and the box doesn't surprise me. I don't think he's just all about goals. There's definitely a player there, but time's ticking now with him, isn't he? I'm not sure what age he is, but he must be well in these early 20s now, is he? 21, 22?
I think it's 22, 23 must be now.
22, 23. So,
yeah.
You know, he's I'm glad he's got to move to AZ Alkmaar. He's playing regularly. I think he needs that. It was never going to happen at Spurs. You know, even when Kane left, he was never going to be a player to come under the first team and take up that role. Obviously, they went and signed Solanke, Richarlison there, so he did need to move. And I would love to see him go on and do great things for AZ Alkmaar and potentially come back to the Premier League, because we know that Premier League clubs do go to Dutch teams and buy players. So, you know, there is an opportunity for him to come back if he does well. Probably not be with a top 6, top 7 club, but you're looking at your Crystal Palaces, teams like that. They're always on the lookout for strikers. It could be an opportunity for him to go back there. And it'd be interesting to see how he fares tomorrow night, because I think he'll struggle. He'll really struggle if Spurs go away the strongest back four, I think, because I don't think he's at that level where he can hurt those type of players. But just selfishly, from an Ireland point of view, I just want to see him playing games and hopefully scores goals and develops his game, because we're crying out for a striker. And we have Ferguson's injury problems. You know, Troy is probably the next best. So let's just hope he can find form and find confidence, because there is a player there and a talented player there at that. So hopefully it's not tomorrow night, but I just really want to see him do well. And look, if the type of player, if he did come back to the Premier League, maybe it would haunt us, but I would like to see him come back to the Premier League if it goes well out there in AZ Alkmaar, because I do think he's a lot to offer teams.
Yeah, he scored 5 in the Dutch League in 9 appearances so far and 1 in the Europa League. Josh, before I get your thoughts on Tottenham in the Europa League this season, let's hear from Neil again on AZ's Europa League campaign so far.
Then going over into the last 2 games of AZ in the Europa League, of which one of them I already told you we lost not that big against Athletic Club de Bilbao. I think we lost it with 2-0, and then we won the first game against Swedish side Elfsborg, which we won with 3-2. It was a bit of a rough game, or at least a game that went both sides, but AZ was just taking the long end in that game, which was lucky for us because we needed those 3 points to have some hope of getting through the first stage of this tournament. We're facing a lot of difficult clubs later on in this competition, so we need all the points that we can take. What else can I say about those games? Yeah, Athletic Club wasn't the best, or at least they were not in their best form. But obviously, if you put our right back Maikuma, Japanese international, up against European Championship winner Nico Williams, then that's a very hard thing to sort of overcome and to face. So that was our weak spot in that game, and I think twice they scored out of an action or a play started out by Nico Williams. So that was unfortunate, but we were not. We had chances in that game, so I looked at it with an optimistic viewpoint that we might have some chances to do well against clubs that are on paper way bigger than we are.
Josh, let's come to you. Let's talk about Tottenham's 2 Europa League games so far. Of course, Karabag Radu Dragushin got sent off early on in the game, but of course we went on to win that game comfortably, 3 points. And then Ferencváros in Budapest won that game with Brennan Johnson scoring yet again. What have you made of those two performances, and in particularly the amount of changes that Ange Postecoglou has made in these games?
Yeah, look, we've played fairly rotated sides. But, ultimately the thing that matters is the 6 points. And I'm glad that we've got the 6 points. I thought we showed great character against Karabag to play the majority of that game with 10 men and win it so convincingly. And yes, of course, Karabag had their chances and the game could have looked quite different. We could have also scored more. So really pleased with that. It was good to get our Europa League campaign, underway with a convincing win. And under those circumstances, with 10 men for the majority, that was even more satisfying. Great atmosphere, as I mentioned before. Ferencváros, okay, I'm surprised the players could even see in the second half. And I'm sure you could hardly see, Chris, in Budapest with the amount of smoke on the pitch. It wasn't pretty. It was shades of that Sheffield United game last season and some of those other games where they were really, really tight. Again, I think we got away with one. I think they scored a perfectly good goal that was wrongly ruled out, in my opinion. But again, the most important thing is the 3 points. And, no away game in Europe is ever easy. Last season or in previous seasons, that's a game we would have lost. So 6 points, again, great opportunity to make it 9 on Thursday. Just quickly, I want to point to something because King Hoddle in the comments mentioned a brilliant Dutch football book, Brilliant Orange. Really, really highly recommend that. If you're interested in Dutch football history, the whole total football, Rinus Michels to the Louis van Gaal Ajax Champions League winning sides, it's got it all. It's a really, really good read. But yeah, as I say, look, perfect start to the Europa League. Great opportunity to make it 3 out of 3, 9 points out of a possible 9. Let's just keep this momentum building. We've got a few tough games coming up. We've got Galatasaray away, which, in my book is the toughest game in this competition. We all know how difficult it is to play in Turkey and, how intimidating that atmosphere will be in Istanbul. But again, I think it's another game that we can win. There's no game I fear in this competition. Roma, again, they're a good side. I watched them play Inter, and Inter, really had their work cut out to get a result there at the weekend. So,
tough game.
There are some tough games coming up. But look, Spurs, I'll say it again. I keep saying it. I do think we're the best team in this competition. You've got to play the best to be the best. And, the fact that there's no drop downs from the Champions League this year in this new format, we're probably playing some of the teams that I would expect to get pretty deep into this competition. I would expect Galatasaray to go quite far, and I would expect Roma to go pretty far as well. So, if we can get wins in these games, then, why would we be fearful of anything? As I say, again, it's a game we can't take too lightly. I want to see us kill the game for half time. Yes, they've got some Premier League experience. They've got Bruno Martins Indy. They've got Jordi Classy. They've got a few nice links. Weirdly, they've got Turncoat Meyer's brother, and they've got Van Bommel's son, as was mentioned. I think Sadiq was the player that they were talking about on the wing. That I think, Jonny, you couldn't remember his name.
Wasn't Sadiq Khan, that's so.
But look, they'll have some talent, and Troy Parrott is going to be probably the most motivated for this game as any in his career. But look, Spurs are a strong team. We've got better squad depth than I feel we had last season. Great opportunity for players like Archie Gray to carry on playing the way he's playing. I'd like to see Lucas Bergvall given a game again. I felt terrible for him in the Karabag game. Let's see him start at home. That would be lovely. And actually, I don't know if Richie is ready to start, but I would love to see Richie get minutes against Alkmaar. But also, I'm looking at Dom Solanke as well in this game, and it's a great opportunity for him to get some more goals under his belt. I think I've been very impressed with his work rate and his pressing, but I think I would like to see a few more goals from him. I'd like to see him have a few more chances, a few more shots. So, this is a great opportunity for someone like Solanke to really get going in terms of the goals as well. And then, Johnson, will he play? Will he get back into scoring form? He's now, it's a disaster. He's had one game where he didn't score. So let's see him get back amongst the goals. If Timo Werner can't score against these, then he can't score against anyone as well.
Poor old Timo.
But look, I think we've got far too much for them. And as Jonny mentioned before, with our technical ability in midfield and our power and our pace, I think we've got too much for them. But it is a great opportunity for those players that aren't necessarily getting as many minutes to prove themselves. But one thing I will flag that I still cannot get my head around, it just baffles me why Jed Spence was left out of the squad. This would have been the perfect game to give him a full 90 minutes in his preferred right back.
Yeah.
Every time he's played so far this season, he's looked good. I remember coming on your channel during the summer, during pre-season, and we were saying that Jed Spence was actually probably the most impressive player at the start of that pre-season. Why he isn't in the squad, I will never understand. I think this game would have been perfect for him, but he can't play. So let's hope that, Archie Gray maybe gets some minutes and he continues to impress. We've got some real talent in this squad, so it's a good opportunity for players to get into some form.
It was
certainly a lot of positives, Josh. And I tell you what, when we spoke about Jed Spence in the summer, we were talking about what where he was going to be signing for and where he's going to be going, because certainly none of us expected him to be staying at Spurs, playing Premier League minutes and getting a new contract at the football club. And we were probably guilty of it on the Spurs Chat podcast on Saturday for not given enough praise, I feel, to Dominic Solanke, because his work rate is absolutely unbelievable. And although he wasn't on the score sheet, another fantastic performance from him and, of course, Brennan Johnson as well. Jonny, before I come to you, we're going to hear from Michael again. I asked both Michael and Neil, given their favourites to win this competition. He didn't say AZ, but he did say another Dutch side.
How about the favourites of the competition? I think Spurs are up there. I think Ajax, a Dutch side, might be an outside shout for it. But because this is one of those competitions where if you get a bit of luck, you can do well in it. I think Ajax will stick it out throughout. They've got a new manager who's very good, Francesco Farioli.
And Neil has stated that Tottenham have a very big chance in this competition.
The Europa League overall, I would say that one of the main favorites to win this competition at this moment are probably clubs like Athletic, the club de Bilbao, which we already faced. Obviously, they also host the final of the Europa League, so it will be very exciting for them if they reach to the final and maybe win. So I think they're one of the biggest favorites. And next to that, I think Eintracht Frankfurt is obviously on a European stage an incredibly big club. But yeah, I think where we're heading, where the question was sort of heading to or leading to, is that Tottenham is obviously one of the biggest favorites, in my opinion at least, to win the Europa League. Before the season started, I thought Man United was one of the biggest favorites, but we have seen how good they performed the last few weeks. So I think they sort of fall behind in the lead to be a favorite in the Europa League. So I would say that Tottenham makes a very, very big has a very big chance of winning this competition.
Jonny, are a lot of people getting carried away because even the bookies have Spurs down as favourites to win this competition?
I'm amazed they're dismissing the likes of Eintracht Frankfurt and Roma. And let's be honest, it's not how you start the season, it's how you finish. And, Man United in the last two seasons, they're not going to do anything. And he's pulled a trophy out of the bag at the end of the season twice. So, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So, let's hope that we are in tip-top form come the end of the season. Nothing's a given. He mentioned Atletico Bilbao, which is where they're holding it. But for me, it's Eintracht Frankfurt, Man United and Spurs are the main contenders, I would think. But it's very big possibility that we will draw one of them, no doubt, in one of the rounds after we get through here. I don't have any worry at all that we're going to not get through this first group stage. But we need to be through in the group of 8 so that we don't have that extra game. That's the most important thing. But I think I think it's not anything for us to worry about at this present moment. Just going back to the weekend and performances, I thought Brennan Johnson, although and I've been one of his bigger critics of last season, although he didn't score, I thought he was fantastic at tracking back and helping out Pedro Porro. And
actually said, Jonny, that it was his best performance in a Spurs shirt.
I thought he was tremendous. And, I remember Wolves last season away where I was standing on the sideline, and after about 60 minutes, he was doubled over, his hands on his knees, sucking it up. And I'm thinking, come on, you're 22 years of age. Where's your energy? Where's your, where is it? You should not be in this state. So his energy levels are definitely up there. And I thought it was a really mature performance. And even more surprisingly, I saw him getting stuck in with Jared Bowen and giving him some as well. So that sort of softy approach that he sort of, or that exterior that he gives off is not really what's going on there. So he's very good. And I agree with Josh. We have not seen Solanke, the striker, yet. Yes, we've seen 3 goals, but they're just little tap-ins. He's pressing, fantastic. He leads the press. That's what the team's been missing. They're pressing as a unit now, and he's leading that, and his work rate is fantastic. But he needs to be getting the supply because the guy can head the ball. Look at his goals that he scored last season for Bournemouth, and I think we've seen anywhere near the best of Solanke just yet. But I would rest him on the weekend. I think it's important that we start to play in some players because the last thing we need when you get an injury, God forbid, it always happens with Spurs, Dr. Tottenham turns up, that you need to have players that standing by that have had some recent minutes. So that's why I would be starting Richie up front and maybe giving him, probably he won't have more than maybe 60 minutes. He's been training for the last month on the pitch, away from the others, but physically and fitness-wise, he's absolutely ripped at the moment, but he's not match fit. So I would say maybe 60 minutes tops. I'd like to see him start on Thursday, and along with Bergvall. I don't know if you're going to ask me my team what I think the team started now, or I've preempted it, gone too early.
No, that's fine, Jonny. We'll come on to that in just a second. I just want to get your opinion on this superstar at the moment, because he's come out and said there is so much more to come from him. He wants to become one of the best players in the world. Dejan Kulusevski has been on fire so far this season. What have you made of the turnaround in form and, of course, his new position in this Tottenham Hotspur side? Because he has been one of the standout players, clearly.
Well, I've got to tell you, when Ange signed for the club, I said, you've got to move Kulu inside. I was calling for it. Unfortunately, every time he got pulled into the inside position, he didn't really grasp the opportunity with both hands. And I felt kind of disappointed because I really thought that was his position. And I thought, well, maybe I got it wrong. But something has definitely happened. And I saw the interview after the game against West Ham, where he said he'd been working on his game and he'd been working on his weaknesses. And boy, does it show. I mean, his engine was never in question. His upper body strength was never in question. His technical ability was never in question. But I think now the reading of the game, some of the cute passing, the layoffs, bringing other players into the game, every aspect of his game now showed up James Maddison for his shortcomings. You know, he's the complete footballer. He's looking a complete footballer now. And he's still only 24 years of age, I think it is. Wow.
That's an interesting point, Jonny, isn't it? I think a lot of fans sometimes forget how young this squad is.
Correct. I mean, you know, maturing, you're talking 26, 27. You know, but he's a clever player. He's intellectual. He understands his shortcomings. He's working on his game. And, you know, that was maybe my criticism of him when he was out wide. He never looked happy playing out wide. And I said to him, you know, when I think of someone like Harry Kane, when Eriksen left and we didn't have a creative midfielder, how Harry Kane started to drop deep and took it upon himself to be that creative player in the middle of the park, spraying balls all over the place. He developed his game. And that was one of the things that I was aggravated with him about, that he was always very predictable. We used to call him sometimes Dejan predictability on the wing. It was always cut back. We knew what he was going to do. But bringing him inside, thankfully, all of me talking about it last season and never really happening, this season it really is. And I think he's nailed on that he has to start in that position. I don't think you can drop him. I think the question is, who do you play alongside him now?
Yeah. Gareth, let's come to you. Let's get on to the final questions and the things I'm most interested in now about team selection. I'm really interested to see who is going to choose who in the starting 11, what you want to see Ange Postecoglou do on Thursday evening, who is rested, who starts, who's on the bench, etc. Now, let's have a look at the team that started against West Ham. Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Kulusevski, Basuma, Maddison, Johnson, Solanke and Heung-min Son. Subs used in the game: Pape Matar Sarr, Timo Werner, Richarlison, Bentancur and Archie Gray. What do you expect Ange Postecoglou to do on Thursday, bearing in mind that we have seen him make so many changes in the Europa League? Of course, he made a number of changes in the League Cup against Coventry as well. What would you like to see happen on Thursday? Who would you like to see rested?
I think Gray will come on at right back. Dragusin will come on as well. Where he goes with Romero and Dragusin, or Dragusin and Van der Ven, I'm not sure of. I know naturally Dragusin on the right, but I just think Van der Ven's so important. We can't afford to lose him at all. And I just think, could we potentially get away with not playing him in this game? I think we probably can. So I would go with Gray at right back, Romero and Dragusin. I'm not sure, is Ben Davies fit?
Yeah.
I play Ben Davies at left back as well to give Udogie a rest. Midfield, I would bring Bentancur in for Basuma, and I would play Sarr on the right side of him and Bergville on the left. And then I would go with, only because Richarlison, I think, won't be ready to start, I would play Solanke. And then I would bring Richarlison on pretty early in the second half if the game's up. And then on the flanks, I would go with Mikey Moore and reluctantly Timo Werner, because there's no other option there at the moment. I want to rest Brennan Johnson and I want to rest Son. And as it says, only Solanke, only Richarlison probably isn't ready for a start, I would play Solanke. So that has quite a lot of changes there, I've said. But I just think that team's more than capable of beating AZ Alkmaar. And you want, and realistically, you want to be Sunday as well. We need to make sure we're fresh for Sunday. So that is an opportunity at home. I think we're strong at home. And that team is more than capable of going and winning that game. Because I think in midfield, we're pretty set for, it doesn't really matter what three playing there. I think we're strong to beat AZ Alkmaar. We do need to protect Van der Ven. Imagine he pulls his hamstring in this game. I know it can happen in any game, but at least if it happens in a Premier League game, the way he plays in the Premier League, I really think we need to be protecting him because Romero's looked really shaky at times. And I know Dragusin had that mistake. Dragusin's back, isn't he? Yeah, he is back. He just had the one game ban. That will be the team I would go. I would go Vicario, Gray, Romero, Dragusin, Ben Davis at left back. Only because Spence isn't registered. I will play Spence. Then I would go with, as it says, Bentancur, Sar, and Bergville as the midfield free, and then Mikey Moore, Timo Werner, either side of Solanke.
Josh, let's get your opinion on what you think Ange Postecoglou will do on Thursday in the Europa League. Do you think James Maddison will start, bearing in mind that he only played 45 minutes on Saturday and Heung-min Son only played 70 minutes? And, of course, he's been out injured before that. Do you think them two will get a number of minutes on Thursday night? Just on mute, Josh.
It's like COVID all over again. I'll tell you what. Look, I think we'll bring the cavalry on in the second half, but I would expect Bergvall to start the game. I would expect it to go Vicario, Archie Gray. You'll have to remind me, is Dragusin back now for this one?
Back.
Games in Euros, Europa. So I'd like to see Radu play. I'd imagine Van der Ven will play every minute possible. And then I can see us playing Ben Davis. And then midfield, Sarr, Bentancur, and Bergvall. Then I think we'll go Johnson, Werner, Richarlison is what I think we'll do. And then, should we be struggling at all, then I can expect the likes of Kulu, Maddison, Son, Solanke to then come on in that situation. But look, we've got to give minutes to these players that aren't starting week in, week out. Otherwise, what's the point of having them? You're never going to keep players happy, and especially Radu Dragusin as well, who I think, take that blip, away against Karabag. I think he's a very good player, and I'd love to see him get more minutes. And I think he's a player that, of all of our players, sort of so-called bench players, he's the one that immediately stands out as pushing for, would have the ability to slot into the starting 11 straight away, if needs be, or if the system changed. So, yeah, I think that's the team I would probably go with, or the team I would expect. We've still got an awful lot of quality, and let's not forget the, as much as we need to take the game seriously, and I believe that we will take the game seriously, I still think we've got enough quality in that squad with a team like that to play, to not just play, but to win and compete. And we can make loads of subs as well. What was it? 5 subs in the Europa League. So,
Josh, what I was going to ask, do you expect Ange Postecoglou to keep making this amount of changes throughout the group stage and then get stronger and stronger as the competition progresses?
I think we'll get stronger and stronger depending on the opposition in reality. These first 3 games and then Elfsborg are the 4 easiest games on paper in the competition. Then you've got Hoffenheim away, Galatasaray away, Roma at home. Those 3 games are probably the most difficult on paper. But we've got to think about the fixtures that we've got. We've got Aston Villa. After this game, we've got Crystal Palace. Then we've got City. Then we've got Villa. That's a really, really crucial run of games. And I think, I would much rather us rest some players in this game if it means that we're going to keep Son fresh. I'd imagine Son, Maddison, those types of players, Kulusevski will play near enough every minute of the Palace, City and Villa games. So, we've all acknowledged we cannot give Son every single minute. We've also got to get Rishi back into match fitness. We know that his physical fitness is there, but match fitness, he's still that's something we've got to work on. And also, in fact, I think Richarlison is the most important one of the lot here. And the reason I think Rishi is the most important of the lot is because if we can get Richarlison starting and he's only got, as Jonny says, 60 minutes in him max. If Richie can start and get a goal or two, that is really great for the squad, because that I think will only help Dom Solanke. I really, really do want to see a situation where we've got two strikers in the squad that are both in form, scoring goals, have their confidence, really going toe for toe with each other. Because Richie, I'm sure Richie will not want to be on the bench all season. He certainly won't want to be, second fiddle to Dom Solanke. So we know how hungry Richie is. He's been very unlucky with injuries. So if we can get Richie minutes and he can get in amongst the goals, and that is on him, that is 100% on Richie. Richie's got to go and deliver the goods when he is given the minutes. But yeah, for me, that's the thing that I'm really looking at is, that one position, but also Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall continuing to grow and develop. This is their first season at this level, their first season for Spurs. And, I only expect them to get stronger. And I'm sure that Radu will want to put wrongs in the first game to rights at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and give a really, really strong performance. And I think, I don't want to be too critical of Romero, but I think Romero has had his struggles this season. I think ultimately he looks knackered, and you would expect that, having had,
too many games,
winning the Copa America, the international breaks. We're about to go into the third international break before Christmas, and each one of those times that involves Romero going all the way to South America, which is, how many hours is that? That's like 14, 15 hours flight minimum, similar to going to, Far East Asia. And he plays every minute for Argentina as well. So, we've also got to give him that much needed rest to get the best out of him. But yeah, I think we've got a really, really good chance. And, I want to see all the players in the squad do well, even Timo Werner.
Jonny, that brings me on to you. Timo Werner, how can Ange Postecoglou get a little bit more from Timo Werner, i.e. the finishing? Would you expect him to start on Thursday? Because as Josh said there, and I completely agree with him, Richarlison, I think, is going to be an important player. If you get Richarlison in the starting 11 on Thursday and he can grab a goal or two and put that big smile on his face, I think that will do the whole squad the world of good, not just him. But it's also about players like Timo Werner. And you would have seen in the away end, when Timo Werner thought that he'd scored against Brighton, that relief on his face. And then it was just taken off, wasn't it? Having had the goal disallowed. But how important is it for these types of players to get minutes in these types of games and do well?
Look, I'm a huge Richarlison fan, as Josh knows, for various reasons. And, he really felt the fan abuse, so to speak, when he wasn't performing, and he knew he wasn't performing, and he was carrying this injury, and he's come back, really determined to show everybody the true Richarlison. And as Josh said, and Josh and I have spoken about before, we need competitions for all the places. Everyone needs to be their place under threat unless they perform. And, to have two performing strikers is a fantastic thing. As the season goes on, not to mention Will Lancashire, who I think has got a really good future, and I think it's very important that he gets the minutes and he gets the fan encouragement. I think the fans are really behind him now. They've seen what he's gone through. Timo is another question. I think a lot of the fans feel after last season, where he was okay, he didn't uproot any trees, that maybe he's blocking the path of Mikey Moore, who is, is the fan favourite. Everyone wants to see him. You and I have been blessed with seeing his progression in the under-18s, under-21s. I think there's an element of that. But the thing is, the guy's the third fastest player in the Premier League after Mickey van der Ven and Anthony Elanga. And yet he needs to take the ball with him. It's pointless being quick. He's panicking. He's trying so hard I feel for him. But, you know, how long can you feel for a player before you're not actually... I understand he's playing him to try and play him into form, but there comes a point where it's gone past that now. I feel it's gone past that now. And he's actually beaten himself up almost before he's even on the pitch, and he's stressed out. He needs to go there and see a sports psychologist to get inside that head, because there's a player in there. I don't believe it's gone. I believe there's a player somewhere in there, but right now it's not happening. So therefore, he needs to step aside, and I think Mikey Moore needs to start on that left-hand side. Listen, I feel for him. I think most fans would be delighted if he went on and scored, you know, and he went on a run like Brennan Johnson did. You know, suddenly out of nowhere, having started really badly, he then goes on a terrific run. But I just can't see it right now. I think he needs to be taken away out the squad and maybe be brought on as a sub at some point, maybe later on in the game. But I think Mikey has deserved his chance for the game that he had against, you know, the games he has played. He's shown creativity, and he's shown that he's a danger. But for me, my team would be, we definitely can't have the tree in goal. So it would have to be Vicario in goal. At right back, I'm a bit of a quandary here, because I definitely think that he's looking. Destiny is looking a bit knackered. He's not quite right. So I'm going to go with Pedro Porro, who also needs a rest, playing at right back. I'm going to enter the Dragusin at right centre back, Mickey van der Ven at left centre back, and I'm going to put Archie Gray, unfortunately, at left back. I mean, which is ridiculous. I mean, I see him as a 6, but I'm just thinking, you know, of the two players who really look out of sorts at the moment, unless Ben Davies comes in. If he's quite happy to put Ben Davies in, playing at that left back, then fine. I'm happy for Archie Gray to go right back. And then in the middle of the park, I'm going to go with our Swedish boy. And listen, he has such fantastic peripheral vision. He's passed that ball before he's actually received it. He scanned the area. He's passing and moving. I just think he needs a little bit of confidence. But, you know, he's a big boy, great upper body strength. He has a lot to offer. And I think this is the perfect game for him. Do you surround him with two tougher individuals? I think you've got to play Benton Core, because he only had a few minutes. And do you play Papasot, or do you push James Maddison in to try and show, you know, I'm better than this? So I'm going to go James Maddison, Benton Core, and what's his name in the middle of the park? Bergvall. And then on the left-hand side, I'm going to go Mikey Moore. And on the right, I'm going to put Brennan Johnson. And through the middle, I'm going to put Richarlison. Hopefully...
Is this what you want, Johnny, or you think what Ange will do?
I think this is what Ange will do. Listen...
So you think that Moore will play over Timo Werner?
I would say no on the majority of occasions, but how long can you go on, Ange? How long? You know, I don't know how long he was on for on Sunday. Was it Saturday? 20 minutes?
Yeah, for Son, 20 minutes. Last 20 minutes.
And it was pretty woeful, you know, without going into great detail. And he didn't have an impact on the game. Had a moment where Archie Gray had a fantastic moment, as I said before, when he left Jared Bowen for dead. But I think now's the time to put him on. Listen, he can always come on as a sub. I just don't want to see Sonny play. I want to see Sonny rested, maybe keep him on the bench in case there's an emergency, maybe. But Timo can come on. He can come on as a sub later on. I think Archie and Mikey Moore and Bergvall all deserve their moment with Dragusin to start the game. And I think being at home, having support of the fans and a home game, this is the game to give them that chance.
Jonny, score prediction?
3-1 to us.
Gareth? What are you going for?
4-0 Spurs.
Wow. Josh, what are you going for?
3-0.
Okay, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win. We've all gone for a win, which is the main thing, and 3 points is 3 points. Let's wait and see what happens. But I'm sure Ange Postecoglou will make a number of changes. Jonny, thank you so much for coming back. You've been a great guest again. Look forward to you having, you coming back on here again very, very soon. Where can people find you? What you're up to at the moment? Will you be there Thursday?
I will be there Thursday. I will be there Saturday, and I will be there on Wednesday. Yes, I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm there, forever there. You can find me on X and Jonny H3232, and on Insta and TikTok on Let's Talk Tottenham 1882. Sorry, I'm drunk on coffee. And you can find me on Tottenham on Tour on Friday at 12 after the game. We'll do a review with Brian Daniel, who I believe is on with you on Friday.
He is indeed. Brian is back. Gareth, thank you so much for coming back. Hope you've enjoyed it, and look forward to having you on again very soon. Where can people find you?
Cheers, Chris. Always a pleasure to be on, especially when everything's going really well at Spurs and makes a change from the COVID days. But you can find me on Twitter at Spurs. Lots of Spurs views on there, and Premier League views in general. Great podcast, Chris. Thanks for having me on, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you so much. And Josh, don't leave it so long next time. I know you're not actually. You're booked in for a couple of after match shows, so we look forward to having you back on very soon. Where can people find you? What you're up to?
At Josh Hughes TV on X. And I know, won't leave it too late. Looking forward to coming back on soon, whether it's, post-match reaction or Q&As. I love coming on the channel, so I'm only a text away.
Thank you so much. Well, Jonny, Josh, Gareth, thank you so much for your time. Let's hope that Spurs continue this winning run in the Europa League and perhaps go all the way in the competition. Wouldn't that be nice? It really would be nice to lift that trophy at the end of the season. Enjoy the game, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you on the Spurs Chat podcast straight after the game Thursday evening. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.